Hello readers! Hi, how's it going? How you doing? Today we're gonna do a video about how much I hate myself. So I've adjusted my camera arrangement a little bit. I have a shelf over there. Actually, I have two shelves over there, and I have two shelves over here. And look at this shelf. You see how beautiful this shelf is? You know what this is? This is my physical TBR. Isn't it lovely? And it's been all but completely and totally abandoned. That's right, people. We're doing another library haul. Here I am, sitting here last year thinking, I'm never gonna do a library haul. I don't check out that many books from the library. And here I am in 2021, and whenever I talk about wanting to buy a book, I have a friend. She is my financial accountability partner, and she saw that I wanted to buy Grady Hendrix's book, and so she sent me a bunch of gifts of people tearing books to pieces and throwing the pages in the air, because that is what she's threatened to do to me if I buy a book, which, don't worry, there is not any actual book violence taking place yet. But, yeah, so in the year of our Lord 2021, where I am on a book buying ban, my library cards, plural, have gotten a little out of hand. So let me start off. I have two library cards. I've had people comment and be a little confused about this and be like, why are you paying for your library card? But allow me to explain. I have my local library. You know, you give them a piece of mail that has your name and address on it so that they know that you actually live here, and they'll give you a library card. And you can go to the library and get books, or you can also get on the Libby app. I'll scooch over so I can put stuff on the screen. You can get the Libby app and put your card number in there, and you can check out ebooks and audiobooks through the library. Now, being in Montana, even having a great library, it's a great library for Montana, not necessarily a generally great library. I don't have as many options as I would like. So I found out through a friend Demi, who I will also put on the screen. She is my physical in real life friend as well as my online friend who has started her own booktube channel. You should follow her. She's great. She loves horrific things. She told me about the Brooklyn Public Library. That one you pay a $50 subscription for 1 year in order to get a library card from them. So you're paying because, well, I'm paying because I'm from out of state. And I can't just, waltz down to the Brooklyn Library and get physical books because I don't live in Brooklyn. But in paying that $50 for a year subscription, I get a library card with a library card number. I can put that into Libby as well and check out books through that. So basically, my understanding of this is that I can check out up to like 20 books through Libby, 10 per card. And I'm just going through my phone every couple days like, oh, this sounds interesting, this sounds interesting. Oh, I'm watching this person's video and that book looks great. So we'll start off with talking about the books that I have on hold and move to the books that I have, like, on Libby right now. I'll start at the bottom. Hungry Hearts. This one was talked about by Victoria from what Victoria read. I believe she mentioned it in her school days book tag, was it? And it just sounds great. I've found that I really like reading great descriptions about food because N.K. Jemisin, I've been loving her writing, and she writes some great things about food, and it makes me hungry, and I would love to read Hungry Hearts. However, I have had this hold placed since January 4th, so it's been almost a month, and it still says unknown wait. So that's going to be a while. We Keep the Dead Close by Becky Cooper. Honestly, I was at Barnes & Noble in, it must have been October? Maybe November, and I'm at the desk, like, asking them some questions about some books, and I look down on the desk, and there is an arc of We Keep the Dead Close, and something about the cover, like the bright pink and the moody woman on the cover, I'm like, can I see that? So they let me, like, look at the synopsis and stuff at the back and tell me a little bit about it. I guess Barnes & Noble gets advanced readers' copies for their workers to read, which is really interesting. And it's about some murder that took place at Harvard that I have no idea about. And I've been watching a lot of Bailey Sarian and getting more into true crime, and I'm like, I want to read that book. So that's on hold. I should get that in 14 weeks, however long that is. The Mothers. Now this is for the Feminist as Fuck book club. They are reading it for March. I doubt that I'm going to read it this month because it is on hold for 14 weeks. But I recently finished The Vanishing Half. I don't know that I will put up my video for Black History Month by the time this video is up. But I read The Vanishing Half by Britt Bennett. I loved it. And I really want to read The Mothers. And book club's reading it, so it's like, this is a good time to check it out. I won't be able to read it with them, but I'll be able to read it. The Dark Forest by Cecine Liu, I think is how I'm supposed to pronounce it. I tried to practice it a little bit. I'm not getting it. But I just finished The Three Body Problem. I will be having, hopefully soon, if I don't just keep putting it off, a standalone review for The Three Body Problem. It does have a problematic author, so do with that what you will. I did pay for the book before I learned that. I wanted to go ahead and try and read it, and I actually loved it. So I checked out The Dark Forest. That is book 2 in the series. I'm really excited to get that. I have to wait a whole 10 weeks after the end of that last book, and the end of book 1 just has me sitting there and thinking and questioning everything about humanity. So it was great for me. Winter Counts. This one was recommended by Michelle from Thor Wants Another Letter. I did my week of reading Native authors last month, and I think it was in that video that she recommended Winter Counts, so I have that on hold. I should be getting it in 7 weeks. Luster. I can never remember what this book is about. I think it has to do with polyamory or something. And I'm pretty sure it's an author of color, but I keep hearing about Luster, and it keeps like snagging on my brain, catching my interest, so I'm like, I should really check that out and read it. And I think I finally put it on hold when I saw it in Hillary's video, Hillary from Melted Books. I'm just gonna have to list like so many people in the description of this video. But I'm not sure if she's actually started reading it yet, or if she finished it yet, but whenever she talked about it in her video, I'm like, I'm gonna put it there. Speaking of Hillary, she also recently talked about the X Talk. Now, traditionally on this channel, I'm not a romance reader, but fully blame Victoria for this. What Victoria read talked about Get a Life, Chloe Brown, and I've started to dip my toes into romance, and I don't know that I can escape because I've read those 2 Brown sisters books, Chloe and Danny. I'm going to read Eve Brown, which I will get to that in a couple minutes. Actually, I can talk about that for a second right now. Can I? No. Oh, wait, that's it. All right. I reached my limit on my holds, so I couldn't get Eve Brown on hold, which isn't really going to make a huge difference because Eve Brown is on hold for over 6 months, even though it's not actually published yet. So it's going to be a little while before I get to read that one. But Hillary was talking about the X Talk, which is a romance revolving around a radio show, and that just sounds amazing. Also, I'm finding enemies to lovers is great. So... And I posted my wrap-up on Wednesday, and that included the first 2 books of the Heartstopper graphic novel series. I'm also not a graphic novel reader, but yeah. Hillary and Victoria, you two, you're trouble. You're to blame for most of the videos that I'm working on right now. Do with that what you will. Next one, Detransition, baby. This one, what was it? Someone has transitioned and they're dating this person, and then I think that person is also trans, and then the original person decides to untransition, and it becomes this like complicated relationship story. It just sounds really interesting. That and the X Talk are on hold for another 6 weeks. Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep? So whenever I was looking at my TBR shelf, like, feels like forever ago, but it wasn't even a week ago, because I finished The Three Body Problem in less than a week. So I was looking at The Three Body Problem, and I was feeling the sci-fi right then, and so I picked it up, and I'm like halfway through The Three Body Problem, and I'm like, I want more sci-fi. So I have Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep. I should get that in 2 weeks, which with the way things are going, that probably means I'm going to get it tomorrow because I've gotten like 6 different holds in the last 2 days. Exhalation, I don't even remember what this is about. I will click on it and figure out what it's about. Oh, it's a series of short stories. So it's a short story collection of science fiction. I could do with a couple of short stories. Then that's all of the books that are on hold and have stayed on hold. Now, with Libby, you can manage your holds. So whenever a hold comes in, you can borrow it, or you can cancel it, or you can say deliver it later. So the next couple of books I'm going to talk about, I have moved the delivery date. The Shadowed Sun. So right now I am a little more than halfway through The Killing Moon by N.K. Jemisin. It's the first book in her Dreamblood duology, but I don't own book 2, so I figured I'd put the second book on hold and then be in a couple weeks. Well, it came in yesterday, and I'm not done with the first book yet, and I have a project coming up based on the holds that are coming available, so can't really read The Shadowed Sun right now. Trail of Lightning by Rebecca Roanhorse. This is another Native author book, Native fantasy, and Rebecca Roanhorse is one that just keeps popping up, and I'm like, all right, I'm curious. I need to see what this is about. And if you've been around here lately, you've noticed that I'm getting a little more into fantasy. I'm kind of finding my niche areas of fantasy that I enjoy, so I thought I would try a Native fantasy. The Only Good Indians came in a couple of hours ago, and I moved the hold date for a week or two so that, I can work on some of my other projects. The Way I Used to Be by Amber Smith. This one I won't actually need until April, and it was pretty immediately available, but I figured I'd put it on hold anyways, just to keep it on my mind. I will be taking part in a book club with Bookworm's Paradise, who I will also link down below. And so we decided on The Way I Used to Be for our first book. That is a sexual assault story. What do I want to do next? Let's talk about the books I have right now. So for February's anti-haul, yeah, because today's like March 2nd. For February's anti-haul, I talked about anti-haul. I have to talk about books I'm interested in, or the anti-haul just isn't interesting. In that anti-haul, I talked about We Had a Little Real Estate Problem, which is a book on the history of Native American comedy, and that just sounds really fascinating. That came in, and I checked that out before I had I borrowed the loan before I had this mass of other things come in. So there's that. I just posted my video. I think it was my March anti-haul that I recently posted, and Olivia from Olivia's Catastrophe had commented there that based on me wanting more diversity in romance books, she recommended Adriana Herrera, so I went ahead and checked out Here to Stay, which was immediately available. So I'm just gonna have to I have this video idea dedicated to romance where I'm just gonna talk about romance as a genre and my perceptions of it and community perceptions of it, and I don't know that any of my video essays are ever actually gonna happen, but I'm thinking about them, and that's what matters. Then I have The Deep by Rivers Solomon. This is another one that just keeps popping up and it looks interesting. I believe the author, if I remember correctly, is autistic. And their first book, An Unkindness of Ghosts, had an autistic character. I didn't end up reading that one. I'd started it and just wasn't feeling it. But The Deep I have is an audiobook, and it's working really well for me. So I might try An Unkindness of Ghosts again as an audiobook. But The Deep is about Black female slaves who were pregnant and thrown into the ocean and turned into mermaids, or their babies turned into mermaids. And it's kind of going back and forth between the historian, who is one of the mer people that holds the memories and the history of what happened, so that it's not necessarily a collective group trauma, it's more just trauma for her. It goes back and forth between her perspective and I think the original mer people who were like building their community and trying to find out where they came from. So that's been fascinating. At least 3.5 stars for that, I'm guessing. And then my last 2 books that I'm going to talk about are for a project, and they're why I put all of these other books on hold for a little bit longer. So over here, I've had these books sitting on my shelves for a while. I have The Namesake by Jhumpa Lahiri and The Ministry of Utmost Happiness by Arundhati Roy. I've heard quite a few things about The God of Small Things that she wrote, but I haven't really heard anything about this book. I bought this book at Barnes & Noble based on someone telling me that it included like an intersex storyline. Hopefully that's true, but I bought it regardless. So I have those 2 Indian authors, and then I also, on my holds, I just got Burnt Sugar, which Victoria talked about, and that looks really interesting. It's like this mother-daughter relationship drama sort of thing. And The Palace of Illusions should be here in 2 weeks. I don't even remember what this was about, but has to do with 5 husbands and a kingdom and a civil war and a relationship with Krishna. So that just looked really interesting, and I want to do another week of reading a genre, for lack of a better term. So I want to do a week of reading Indian authors to take care of some of the books on my physical shelf, to explore the country's literature a little more. So that is my library haul, which is ridiculous. And this is my all but completely abandoned physical TBR shelf. So hopefully I won't be completely drowning. I do have, like a full term of school and freelance work, but procrastination. I use my love of books to procrastinate on everything else. I really hope I'm not alone in that. But anyways, please subscribe. You can be my friend on social media, but try not to encourage me to pick up any more books than I already have. I will see all of you, hopefully, in my next video. Bye, friends.